Hope you have a good time and hopefully get a little bit of a break. And again, we will do the same.
If it's rock, we're talking about it.
Trunk Nation.
With Eddie Trunk.
SiriusXM's Faction Talk.
Oh, Joel, these opens are quick, man. What's going on here?
Yeah, they're new and they're snappy, but they get you right into the show.
My gosh. I think we need to check off the longer ones for the open and then these other ones, the quick rejoins. These are crazy. Give me a chance to even finish drinking my drink. My gosh. Our man Joe Lopez moving along. Anyway, I'm just trying to get my bearings here because that was such a quick open. We are not coming back from a break. We are opening the show, and welcome everybody. It is Trunk Nation. It is 3 o'clock Eastern. It is Wednesday. It is the first day of July. And it is the final live show until Monday as we get ready to take a break for the 4th of July holiday weekend. As I was saying the other day, most people have Friday as the day off with the 4th landing on Saturday. We are going to have Thursday and Friday going into the long weekend. So again, after today, back live with you guys on Monday. As mentioned, we're going to do kind of a theme for our best of shows tomorrow and Friday. Tomorrow, both shows from 2024. Both were done back-to-back days back in 2024. However, we're airing them back in a reverse order than they happened 2 years ago. But tomorrow, your top international bands, meaning bands, any rock bands you love that are not American. And then Friday, going right into 4th of July, your top American hard rock and rock bands. So that's what we have for you. Good theme, good vibe going into the 250th birthday of America on Saturday. And whatever you're doing, hope you have a good, safe, long holiday weekend. And wherever you are in the country, it's probably pretty darn hot in most of the country. I know in the East, they are having triple-digit temperatures. And in Vegas, the norm, where I am at the moment, the norm is pretty much triple digits around this time of year. Although it's been kind of like not as bad lately, although that'll probably change in the next couple of days. But anyway, that's the norm here. So wherever you are, hope the weather's decent. Hope you don't blow off any fingers. Hope you have a good time and hopefully get a little bit of a break. And again, we will do the same and kick back into action with you guys on Monday with what we've been doing this entire abbreviated week, open phones and your phone calls. And we're going to get over to the phones in what is a free-for-all Wednesday here in minutes because, as I was saying, news is extraordinarily light, especially around holidays. Not a lot going on. People really checking out. So it's your chance to take over the airwaves with your questions, your comments, your thoughts about rock music. Lines are open at 844-686-5863, our usual number, 844-686-5863. And as usual, if you are listening in our live window of 3 to 5 Eastern, noon to 2 Pacific, you can always, and you're listening via the app, you can always hit the phone icon on the app, dial right into the show that way as well. Social media, as usual, is there for you to check out. Keep up with everything going on. My own social media at Eddie Trunk, X, Instagram, Facebook page, YouTube, etc. All just simply at my name. Website, all just my name. And for the show accounts, which you'll find on X, Instagram, and on TikTok, that account is at Trunk Nation SXM. So, a quick note here. Angelo from New Jersey called, I think it was yesterday, reminding us that on Tuesday of next week, it's the 40th anniversary of the David Lee Roth album, Eat 'Em and Smile. And Angelo had the great idea of getting the band back together meaning getting the three key members of the band that Roth assembled, that stellar band for that record together, and reminisce about the record, talk about the record, maybe take some phone calls about the record. And of course, the logical thing would have David Lee Roth on himself, but again, that's just not going to happen, and he's not interview inclined, to say the least, it doesn't seem like. Although, if catch him in an airport or in an EDM festival, he seems to want to talk, so who knows. But I don't have a line to Dave. I'd love to do that. I'd love to interview him. I never have, believe it or not, but it's always eluded me. But we thought Steve Vai and Billy Sheehan are both friends, so that would be easy. And I do not know Greg Bissonette at all, but I thought I could track him down through Steve or Billy. So I promised you guys when I got off the air yesterday I would work on this, and I did. And unfortunately, Steve Vai is on tour. He got back to me. He would love to have done it. He is on tour with the band Beat. So that isn't going to happen because he said with the time difference, it would be right in the time that he's actually on stage. So Steve, unfortunately, cannot do it. Steve connected me with Greg Bissonette, and Greg did send me a text this morning and said he would love to do it, but Greg Bissonette plays with Ringo Starr these days and said that he is in preparation and rehearsal with Ringo Starr. So he can't do it. However, Billy Sheehan can do it. So Billy will join us on Tuesday to talk about Eat 'em and Smile at 40 years old. He was available. And, the idea was obviously to try to get all three of them on at the same time and put them on Zoom, etc. But I tried, I took a swing, and just because of scheduling conflicts, two of the three cannot do it, but we're fortunate to have Billy, and he is willing to do it and spend some time with us. And he's always a great interview and always willing to talk about anything. So for the 40th of Eat 'em and Smile, Billy, as of now, just Billy Sheehan on Tuesday, and maybe we'll incorporate some of your calls into that as well. That, of course, next week. So there's some news for you. As far as just overall news, again, super light today, as expected. The big news, and again, it's unfortunate news, is that Rush have once again been forced to postpone shows in the same market in Fort Worth, Texas, the Dallas area. So, man, I feel for people that were going or attempting to go to see Rush in that market because they have had multiple disruptions. If you remember, the first incident or disruption was caused because Rush was coming back into America from Mexico, and they had some holdup with some of their gear or their trucks or their crew getting from Mexico back into the U.S. And it didn't get back through in time, causing a postponement of the first show of the run for Rush in that city. Last night, I believe it was last night, was the makeup date. Or I got my timeline could be off on this, but bottom line is the makeup date, the reschedule for that has once again been postponed. And basically what happened here is Rush canceled the show they were scheduled to do in Fort Worth last night, and I've already canceled the show scheduled to take place tomorrow. And the reason for this, if you follow their social media, Alex Lifeson made a video where he explained that Geddy Lee woke up with laryngitis and was unable to speak, let alone sing. Alex good-naturedly, with his sense of humor, said it's not so bad that Geddy can't speak because he's tired of hearing him talk. But it's a problem when they're trying to perform a concert, obviously, to get him to be able to sing. He said that Rush will not perform unless they can be at their best, and it was just not possible for them to be able to do the shows. So they have blown out. They blew out last night. Now, the cancellation last night took place only a few hours before they were supposed to play. I'm not sure why it happened so late. Maybe Geddy was trying to get some treatment, thinking he could get his voice back. It did not happen, and they were forced to cancel last night. And again, they have already canceled tomorrow in Fort Worth. The makeup dates this time around for these two shows are now set for July 11th and July 13th. So if you were holding tickets, those are your new dates. This really sucks for people who were already going to one of the postponements and had their first show postponed. But, and look, Rush are very aware of this. They said it in the statement that they made after they had to cancel because of the border issue, that a lot of people travel to go see Rush. There were probably a lot of people that were going in, coming from other parts of the country, other parts of the world, that had earmarked these shows, especially because when I was in Dallas last week, somebody pointed this out to me, and I had forgotten about this. When the Rush dates were initially announced, the only dates that were announced, one of the only markets announced initially was Dallas, Fort Worth. I'd forgotten about that. It was odd. They had announced a few shows, and then the whole other wave of shows came a little bit after. But the Dallas market was the initial announce. And with that, there were a lot of people wondering if they were going to do anything else. So those shows, more than ever, were probably bought up by people that not only live in that area, but were coming from other areas because they weren't sure if there were going to be any other shows, or the shows were going to be very limited. So for the people out of the market, it's really, really a bummer, and certainly feel for those folks who got zonked, some of them now twice, with these dates now being moved to the 11th and 13th of July. But as Alex said in the statement, not a lot you can do, man. When your singer can't sing and wakes up and has no voice, there's really not a lot you can do. And obviously they can't play it. Well, although actually, now that I think about it, Rush could easily do a 2-hour all-instrumental set. And they're probably one of the few bands where their fans would be okay with it. Just do, La Via Strangiato, they could just piece all the instrumentals together, all the instrumental stuff in 2112. I don't know. Could be a pretty unique set. That would be a hell of a set list. So get well, Geddy. And again, if you were holding tickets for these shows, those are the new dates, and maybe you got to sell them. I don't know. Do what you got to do, but kind of sucks, no doubt. Really interesting what's happening with the Black Sabbath song Changes, which of course came out in initially 1972 on the Sabbath Volume 4 album and was a rare Sabbath ballad. Sabbath, known as the architects of heavy metal. And here on their 4th album, they had a song that was just basically piano and vocal. But a song that at that time, more than 50 years ago, was nothing more than an album cut. It was a total outlier on the album. It was never a hit single. And in the roughly 55 years since the song was released and recorded, it's become a whole new thing. Ozzy did a version of it years ago with his daughter duetting on it. And of course, it basically catapulted and put Youngblood on the map in America. There's no question about that. His performance at Back to the Beginning put him on the map in the U.S. and has basically launched his entire career in America and became a huge moment in that show. And just the song just keeps going and going and going. And now, today, Rival Sons lead singer Jay Buchanan has released a solo version of him doing Changes and his rendition of it. And it's very different than the other versions that we've talked about. It's basically a very, very stripped down version of the song, and it's very much in the spirit of Jay's last solo album, which he was on to promote. And Jay Buchanan and Rival Sons have a big history with Sabbath because they opened every show around the world on the Sabbath Farewell Tour. Jay also opened my concert a couple years ago in Vegas and was the first artist on stage, the first song of the night, performing a Sabbath song with Geezer Butler, and that was Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. But it's really fascinating to see this song Changes, which was nothing more than an album cut, and still to this day has never become like a bona fide hit single, become this thing. You know, it's just amazing this path some of these songs take. And I don't know if Jay recorded this before or after Youngblood did his version of it. Maybe he did plan to do it sooner than Youngblood had all that heat with it, and he decided to wait a while to put his version out. But it's out today. It's online if you want to check it out. The only other note really today is the Hollywood Vampires. Most of you guys know who they are. For those that don't, the nucleus of that band is Alice Cooper, Joe Perry, and the actor Johnny Depp. They've been at it for a long time now, probably at least 15, 20 years since they started playing music together. Initially started out playing nothing but covers, then evolved into doing an original album. And for whatever reason, the bulk of the touring since the Hollywood Vampires have existed has been in Europe. They really have not done all that much in America. And I think I mentioned this to Alice or asked Alice about it when he was on with us recently. And I think he said that Johnny Depp lives in France and it's just easier for him and his schedule for those guys to work and tour over there. But for whatever reason, Hollywood Vampires are doing another run of dates in Europe that start very soon, nothing in America. And today they announced the release of a live album that was recorded at the Montreux Jazz Festival. It's coming out digitally August 7th, physical release October 16th. Interestingly, this is not a new concert. It was originally, it was recorded and took place back in 2018, just now coming out as an official release physically and digitally. And that's it. It's super light today, so we're going to get over to these calls and your calls to wrap up the week here in just a second. Joel, anything you want to jump in on?
Just want to mention that I'm going to play the new track by Bryan Adams that's out today. We mentioned it yesterday. It's called 51st State. You'll hear a clip of it as we go to break, and we'll say happy birthday to Blondie's Debbie Harry, who turned 81 today.
Oh, wow. 81. Happy birthday to a woman that is commonly thought of and most people think Ian Anderson's name is Jethro Tull. So many people think that still to this day that Debbie Harry's name is Blondie. Anyway, happy birthday to Debbie Harry. And yes, we mentioned this Bryan Adams song yesterday. So today is Canada Day, right? Today is their
Yes,
their
it's
day.
today.
So we broadcast to Canada and to all our Canadian listeners as we get ready to celebrate 4th of July here and the 250th birthday of the U.S. on Saturday. A happy Canada Day to all our Canadian Trunk Nation listeners listening today. I hope, I'm assuming they have the day off. I don't know what you get there. I don't know if you get the day off. The banks are closed. I don't know how it works there, but happy Canada Day. And to commemorate Canada Day, Canada's own Bryan Adams, who was just in studio with me a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago on this show, has released a new song. a bit tongue-in-cheek called 51st State. And it's, as I mentioned yesterday, it's very short. It's only about, when I listened to it, I think it's only about 2 minutes total running time. But Joel will give you a little bit of it here as we go into break. When we come out of the break, you take it the rest of the way and wrap up the week with your call.
Now back to talking all things rock.
From band gossip to gear and everything in between.
Rolling, baby. Trunk Nation.
Sirius XM's
Know what time it is.
Faction Talk.
My friend and photographer Dave Plastic just sent me a note. We missed a birthday today. It's a guy that we get asked about all the time, that I get asked about all the time. Vito Bratta celebrating a birthday today. So happy birthday, Vito, my old friend. Hope you have a good one. Constantly asked about Vito and why he doesn't play anymore and hasn't played in decades and all that sort of stuff. But we've told that story a million times. He's just not in the music industry anymore. It's as simple as that. But wishing him a very happy birthday today. So I will send him a note personally a little bit later on. Okay, let's get over to the phones with you guys right now. Let you take it the rest of the way here on Trunk Nation. And let's see, we'll start with Kevin in Florida as our first caller today. Welcome, Kevin.
Hey, Eddie. How are you? Thank you for taking my call, my friend. Hope all is well with you, brother.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Thank you. I was listening to you telling the stories about the Rush stories, and I feel very badly for all the fans. As I'm going in Fort Lauderdale, we're going in November, so I'm looking forward to the show. And I'm trying not to watch any videos, and I'm trying to keep a total open mind as a drummer, and Neil was a big influence on me. So I'm trying to just go into the show as a fan and just open-minded and just be there in the moment for Neil and for the boys. But what I wanted to expand on was, I think you may have a great throwdown idea, my friend. Bands, instrumentals, even some of their epic songs, some of Maiden, some Priest, definitely Rush, some Dream Theater, some of those bands. And how long are the instrumentals that are on the albums? And I'm the kind of guy that I will go through every Rush album and I will time every one as to how long those instrumentals are, add them up, the instrumental portions of certain songs like Xanadu and By Torn the Snow Dog and things like that, and come up with an overall number. And, you could do like 2 bands or 3 bands or 4 bands, however many people want to do. But I think that's a really fun and really cool idea. And I think it might turn people back on to other bands and certain things, and really appreciating the musicianship behind those things. And I'll listen to your comment offline so you can.
So wait, just so I'm clear, Kevin, you're saying which band has the longest or the most amount of instrumentals, and add them all up?
Yeah. That's what you were taught. You were saying that Rush could probably do a full 2 hour, jokingly, but could do a 2 hour show just on the instrumentals alone. I'm sure that Dream Theater could do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure Iron Maiden, with the amount of albums that they've got, if you add up all of those things like that, and it's not so much of this versus that, but just kind of everybody throw in their favorite, their favorite bands and how long their instrumentals are, and things like that. Just do a deep dive.
Yeah.
If you're a real fan, you've got all the albums, as I do, and and you and I, being the digital guys with the CDs, man, we can get right down to that last second before it clicks over to 00.00. So, or the fade out, however you want to call it, So, just something to think about. I think it would be fun, and I'm the kind of obsessive guy. I'll go back. I'll do it this weekend, this long weekend, and do my Rush ones this weekend. Because it's hotter than hell. Let's face it, it's hotter than hell, and ain't nobody going to be outside anyways.
Yeah, well, that's true, too. Thanks, Kevin.
I'm going to be
I appreciate
inside.
it, man. All right. Enjoy. Stay cool. There he is, Kevin in Florida. Just... I'm just laughing because there's Kevin in Florida, who's going to spend his 4th of July weekend inside, compiling all the Rush instrumentals and instrumental passages and adding them up to the second. That is a Trunk Nation listener right there, if there ever was one. That is hardcore right there. Now, look, I'm in Vegas. It's 100 degrees. I don't plan to do that in my way. I might go into the casinos or somewhere inside or in my house, but I'm not. If I am, I'm going to be doing something else. Oh man. Joel, I decided for your long 4th of July weekend, you need to add up all the Rush and Dream Theater instrumentals and give me a number on Monday. So spend your...
Oh, damn. Well, I better get started.
You know what? I bet you AI could do that for you.
I wouldn't trust it.
I
I bet it could, but I wouldn't trust it.
I know. Well, Kevin, interesting idea. If you come up with those statistics and you want to call in and share them with us, all good. But I think from Kevin's phone call, there might be an idea there, not necessarily where he was going, but I'm not opposed to the idea of your favorite, a call-in show of your top 3, your top 5 instrumentals from any band. I don't know if we've ever done that. I definitely think Joel should put that on the list. I think that's good. I don't know about all the math at adding stuff. Here's Pat in Indiana. Hey, Pat, what's going on?
Yeah, hey, Eddie. The Mean Man documentary with Chris Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
He tells a story about how he was out visiting with the fans after a show, and then Blackie starts bitching at him about spending too much time with the fans. My question is because you were in management, number one, Blackie doesn't own that bus. I mean, I'm sure the management company. And number two, if Chris Holmes just told Blackie to fuck off and you don't tell me anything, and if however long I spend with the fans is none of your business, and I'll spend an hour I know Blackie was the lead singer, and I'm a fan of Wasp, but what could Blackie do about it? I mean, he couldn't. If Chris just said, no, Blackie, fuck off, what would Blackie do about it? Like I say.
Hold on. When you said, Pat, he doesn't own what? You said something earlier. You said Blackie doesn't own what? The bus? Is that what you said?
Yeah, because he wanted Chris to get on the bus to go. Blackie, the record company, so it's not like it's Blackie's bus. So Chris could say, I'm going to spend an hour with these fans. I mean, they're the ones who make. I mean, what could Blackie do if Chris had went off on him? I know Chris never did go off on him, but I know he had problems with him. But if he had told Blackie, I'll spend as long as I want with these fans, and this bus can wait. Do you remember when Chris told that story on Mean Man?
I haven't watched that documentary in a while. I did watch it, but I don't remember specifically that story because I haven't watched it in a bit. I watched it when it first came out. I don't remember anything in it like that. But I'm not saying you're wrong. I just didn't see it. I mean, I saw it. I don't remember it.
But you're a man. You were with the record label. I mean, what could the lead singer really do if Chris just said that bus is going to wait, Blackie, and so are you?
Well. That comes down to, so a couple things on this, Pat. And thank you, Pat, for the call, and I'll try to break this down a little bit for you. But a few things. It doesn't have anything to do with who owns the bus. Almost every instance, artists who travel by bus on the road do not own the bus. They rent the bus. There's a big company in Florida that does a lot of that. And they provide the driver and the contract and the terms. And, when the driver, most of the time, tour buses travel overnight. So if a band leaves a show at midnight, 1 o'clock, and remember, the buses are not a big tour. The buses, there's multiple buses, not just the band bus. the crew bus, everybody has to be transported. There could be 10 buses on a tour. And in really big bands, each member might have their own bus. Really, really big bands, each member has their own plane. So it just depends case by case as far as that's concerned. But generally, you rent the bus, you pay the company a monthly fee that includes the driver. And because much of the driving is done overnight, the band and the people on the bus will sleep, but the driver actually obviously has to be alert because he's doing the driving. It could be an 8-hour drive overnight, 1 to 9 in the morning or something to get to the next city. And of course, that driver has everybody's life in their hands, and there has to be a great level of professionalism and trust. So those drivers have to be vetted out to make sure they're not on drugs, they're not on alcohol, and the drivers have to sleep during the day. So there are now a lot of rules about how long the drive can be. If it's a certain period of time, then there has to be 2 drivers so they could change out the other one so one doesn't get tired. So there are scheduling things that go into being on a bus with a driver that you have to be in line with. I was just with LA Guns in Houston on Saturday, and Tracy's guitar tech was talking to me on stage, and he said, yeah, we got a 12-hour drive tomorrow. And they're in something called a bandwagon, which is somewhere between a bus and a van. Not nearly as comfortable as a bus, but it's a mid-level thing. And I said, well, man, I hope your driver's sleeping. And he goes, oh, yeah, he sleeps all day. So when you're a driver for most of these things, you live a complete nocturnal lifestyle. You are up overnight and you sleep all day because you have to be functional and alert to drive overnight all the time. So I'm bringing all that up because it could tie in to this story that Pat is bringing up. Because if you've got a bus sitting there and your driver who once if he's scheduled to start driving at midnight and he doesn't leave till 1, that hour might come off of the amount of time that he's able to drive the bus to get to where you got to get to. You follow what I'm saying? Could be a scheduling thing. The other thing too is, look, it's great to spend time with fans, but if you've got an entire bus of band and crew that needs to and wants to leave, but one of your guys is out there meeting and greeting and drinking and hanging out and talking to fans, yeah, from your perspective as a fan, that's great. This is the coolest guy in the world. But to the people on the bus who just got done working, because again, a band at that level, the band and crew may all be on one bus. They want to get the hell out of there. So yeah, sign a couple autographs, whatever, say hello, but you got to go. And if you're holding everyone up, that could lead to a problem too. So again, I wasn't there in this particular instance. I have no idea what went on. I'm just saying you have to look at this from both sides. It's like, hey, we got to start rolling this thing at midnight. We can't sit there because you're hanging out with fans for another hour and it sets everything back, and it's not respectful to the other people you're working and traveling with. So just giving you both sides of the equation, where the initial thought of that might be, oh, you're just a dick, you don't want to spend time with fans. Look, there could be that too. I'm not saying there's not sometimes, but rock and roll is a business. Touring is a business. The clock is running on everyone. You've got to be on the road at a certain time, to a certain place at a certain time, set up, torn down at a certain time. I know from the fans' perspective, it's just a party and it's a show, and you see your 90 minutes of the band you love on stage, and that's it. But behind the scenes, it's a whole different story. So that's it. I don't know what went on there specifically. I'm just giving you both sides of how that can play. And as far as what somebody could do, well, you have an argument. You have a fight. And obviously, if somebody's a hired gun in a band, they could potentially get fired if they're not playing by the rules. I don't know what the nature of the arrangement was back then with Chris and Blackie, but I'm just saying that, there's nothing you can, it could just lead to a lot of animosity and problems. These are some of the reasons why most bands hate each other. Just sad but true. Let's say hi to Ed, who is joining us from Las Vegas today. Hey, Ed.
Hey, Eddie. How you doing, boss?
I'm good, man.
I wanted to tell you about the show I went to in Vegas on the 20th of June, a Buckethead show at the Virgin. Talk about underrated guitarists. I mean, I'd never seen him before. It's my first time. And, man, he put on one hell of a show. I just didn't know if you ever had any history with him. I know he probably doesn't do a lot of interviews or anything.
Where did he play in the Virgin? Did he play in the big room?
No, he played in the 24 Oxford Club, the little
the old vinyl.
Holds about,
right.
Yeah, the old vinyl. It only holds about 750 people, but there was only probably about maybe 200 there, if that.
That's a great space, though. I've seen a lot of shows in there, and I've done some stuff in there. So, did he do the whole chicken coop thing and all that? Was it the usual setup?
No, well, I'd never seen it before, so I really don't know what his past setups were. But it was just basically him on stage, and he had no band with him. He was playing with bass and drum tracks, and he had a guy in the back programming the bass and drum tracks. But one thing I'll say about this guy, when he came out, Eddie, he never stopped. He played for over 2 hours straight, nonstop, one song into the next. It was like a marathon of just in-your-face guitar. It was awesome.
Yeah, I don't think I was in town at the time he played, because I would have went if I was. But no, Ed, I certainly know who Buckethead is, and we've gotten calls on him before, and I'm aware of everything he does and what he's done, and I know he's an incredible guitar player, and I have seen video of him doing that where it's just him and everything else is recorded tracks. But if I was in town, I would have gone and known about it. I would have gone to that. But no, I've never interviewed him. I don't know if he even does interviews. I don't think he ever. I'm not sure if he does, because he's got the whole mask and everything. I don't know.
Yeah, he seems like he's kind of an introvert, so I highly doubt he ever did. But I just figured, with all your vast history, I didn't know if maybe you had any run-ins with him with the line of work you're in and all.
No, I don't know. No, Ed, I haven't. Thank you. I don't know if he's been seen without the bucket and the mask. I mean, he's a pretty anonymous guy. I certainly wouldn't, if he was sitting next to me, wouldn't pick him out. Wouldn't be able to pick him out. I know he's really tall. For a long time, there was a rumor that Paul Gilbert, who's also a phenomenal guitar player, Racer X, solo stuff, Mr. Big, that Paul Gilbert was Buckethead. And because they're at the same height, they're both great players, and Paul's a little bit of a quirky guy. He's like, he would be the type of guy who would put a Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket on his head and be somebody else. And I remember I asked Paul Gilbert that once. He goes, "No, I am not Buckethead." So that was ruled out. But no, his real identity is known. His real name is known when you look it up. But and maybe there's some old pictures of him without the bucket. I don't really know, but I doubt he does interviews. I mean, the guy was in Guns N' Roses. Think about that, how crazy that period was. Do you guys remember that, when it was back when the MTV Video Music Awards actually used to have rock acts on? And that's when Axl first ever announced Guns N' Roses being active again, and the return of GNR. it with that very, very first lineup back, if I'm not mistaken, they made their debut on the MTV VMAs, and the guitar player was Buckethead. And then he stayed in the band for a while, and then the Revolving Door and all that. But yeah, I mean, the guy was in basically anonymous, and he was in one of the biggest bands in the world. Crazy. Here's Ryan, who is in Canada. Ryan, where in Canada are you today?
I am in Saskatchewan, Eddie.
And happy Canada Day. Is this a actual big holiday for you guys?
Oh yeah, it is. It's the banks are closed, and it's like any other holiday here, so it's great.
Does it always fall on July 1st?
Always, yeah. So this year it's not the greatest, being in the middle of the week. It's nice to tie that into a Monday or a Friday, but we'll take it. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and what does it signify for Canadians?
I think it's like the same as the 4th of July, just being proud to be Canadian and celebrating the country, and, just happy to live where we live.
Very cool. Well, happy Canada Day to you. Ryan, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, thanks. Just 2 quick points I wanted to mention. I've been listening to you for a long time. There's a song that was popular in Canada. I wouldn't say popular. I mean, with a certain crowd. It was called Night of the Blade by Tokyo Blade. Did that get any reception in the U.S.?
No. I mean, I know it, but I know it just because I was kind of following all the metal back then. But no, zero. I mean, that band's completely off the radar here.
Okay. No, that's good to know. And I listened to your replay of Cars versus Boston. I really like that, the first album versus the first album. And I don't recall if you've ever done this one, but Led Zeppelin versus Black Sabbath. What do you think of that one if you haven't done it
just
before?
Overall as bands?
No, first albums. Just like the Cars versus
debut
Boston.
albums.
Debut albums, yeah.
I don't dislike it at all. Just running through that in my head a little bit. Yeah, I mean, they're both okay. So first Zeppelin was 68, I believe. First Sabbath was 70. Yeah. So they're close in the time they came out. Yeah, no, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I think we could maybe look at doing that somewhere down the line. I do like it. I mean, battle of 2 debut records that basically created a whole genre in a way, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it would be really interesting to hear the calls and to see where people land on that one.
Yeah. We'll put that on the list, Ryan. That's a good one. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for the call. Enjoy Canada Day. Zeppelin's U.S. debut, was released January 1969. Sabbath's just about a year later, February 1970. Oh, no, wait, not just about a year. Yeah. A year and change later. Speaking of those debut albums, Boston Cars, I was going down the YouTube rabbit hole last night, as I often do, like a lunatic in the middle of July, listening to New York Giants podcasts. where there's, I mean, this is the dead period for football. It's, there's nothing going on for like 3-4 weeks until the camps open. So you really got to be mentally ill to be looking for Giants podcasts to talk about the Giants when there's literally nothing to report. But that's what I was doing at like 5 a.m. last night, trying to get back to sleep. And I found some. But I came across a concert from the band Boston, which ever since we replayed Boston versus Cars has come up quite a bit. And it was from Giant Stadium. And it had to be 78. It had to be like 77, 78. And it was interesting because whoever the MC was came out and said something like, well, you didn't think we were going to bring The Rock back to Boston, and we are. So No, we didn't. You didn't think we were going to bring The Rock back to Giant Stadium, and we are. So here with The Rock is Boston, something like that, the stage intro. And at that time, Giant Stadium would have only been like a year or two old. But Boston came out, and I'd never seen Boston live, but I had always heard that they were very boring live. But this was a truly live concert, obviously shot way back then, and they weren't boring. I thought they were fine. I mean, I only watched a couple songs. Tom Scholz was like bouncing around. Brad Delp, guy's voice was ridiculous. And I don't know why the MC, it might have been the promoter, I don't know, said we're bringing The Rock. You didn't think we were going to bring The Rock back. I don't know. I don't know what was going on back there, even though it's 20 minutes from my house at the time. I was a kid. I don't remember, but it was pretty cool to see. And the footage was odd because they had like two cameras, and one was black and white and then one was in color. So it was kind of cutting back and forth, but that's up on YouTube now. Want to check it out. Here's Jason in Ohio. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Brother Strunk. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you. Jason, what's going on with you?
Oh, just working and trying to make a living. And I love listening to your show, and it keeps me busy going down the road while I'm driving my truck. So, I appreciate all the 40 years you've done for us.
Well, I appreciate that very much, Jason. Thank you so much. Who do you drive for?
I drive for Thomas Keller out of Defiance, Ohio, and I just want to wish you and your family a happy 4th of July, sir.
Well, Jason, I greatly appreciate the phone call and the sentiment, and the same to you, and drive safely, my friend. Thank you for listening.
You're welcome.
All right, there's Jason with just a nice 4th of July call. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Jason, and we appreciate all our truck drivers out there keeping things moving and keeping us supplied. Here's Jamie in Kentucky. Hi, Jamie.
Hey, how's it going, Eddie?
I'm good, Jamie. What's going on?
In the spirit of the 250th birthday of the United States, I want to do my Rushmore of American rock bands, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
No particular order, but the Eagles, Van Halen, Kiss, and Guns N' Roses.
You're leaving Aerosmith out.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one.
You left Van, You said Van Halen, right?
Yes, sir.
So Van Halen is a little bit of an asterisk because the brothers were not born in the U.S., but we'll let them in. They grew up here, so we can let that go. And some people bring up Metallica, also a little bit of an asterisk because Lars was born in Denmark but has lived here for like 50 years, so we let that go too. But yeah, Aerosmith is is a tough one to exclude in that for sure.
Well, it's hard to squeeze everybody into four,
If you had to, wait, real quick, if you had to knock maybe you're not a big Aerosmith fan, and that's fine. But if you had to knock someone off of that list, who would take the hit on your Rushmore to put Aerosmith in instead? Like if you had to drop one of the four.
Well, probably drop the Eagles just because they're more of a poppy, folky thing,
sleepy,
more traditional rock. Yes, but
right.
Anyway. But real quick, on the '76 poster for Kiss, do you still have yours?
No, I don't.
Okay, I've still got mine, and we're gonna have a big party, and actually gonna have a live band at my party, and we're gonna put '70s posters up, and obviously right behind the band, it's gonna be the Kiss '76 poster. So just in the theme of the '76, that was the 200th birthday. I think that's gonna be a lot of fun. But I appreciate everything you do, Eddie, and keep rocking, keep doing your thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate that, and enjoy your 4th of July. Thank you very much. I remember I was telling the story yesterday on the air that I do remember 1976 4th of July for 200 years, and I was 11, And I remember all that went on. But yes, that Kiss poster was extremely iconic at that time. I've seen that pop up here and there online. Seems to come up every 4th of July. People circulate it on social media. Very iconic shot. Let's say hi to Mike, who's in Reno, joining us right now. What's going on, Mike?
Brother Sick Boy, you're leaving on me on the back burner. I'm your best friend from Reno, man.
Mike, I'm just moving through the calls, buddy. What's going on today?
What's going on, man? I'd like to give a shout-out to the Facebook Trunk Nation Uncensored page because there's some cool cats on there. And hopefully you check it out sometimes. There's some fun stuff going on. I have a top 10 for you, E. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm telling you. All right, here we go. All right. Top 10 people who Eddie Trunk is not friends with. How about that? Ain't that some shit?
Who I'm not, what, that I have a beef with, or I just don't know?
No, just who you're not friends with. Because a lot of us, we're jealous. You're friends with all these people. I'm not friends with any of them. I mean, I know Lamont the plumber in fucking Reno, but you're friends with all these cool people. We don't fucking know anybody. And I'm like, dude, you know what? Let's do a top 10 of people like either you don't know or that you're not friends with.
Well, I could actually.
How about that?
Well, actually, thank you, Mike, for the call. I just mentioned one that I don't know at all, that I never interviewed, that I'd love to, and that's David Lee Roth. Talked about it earlier in the show. There are, there's a lot of artists that I don't know. There are a lot of artists that I don't know personally at all. There are a lot of artists that I know, and then there are artists that I am friends with. They're very different categories. People that you're friends with are actually friends. You hang out with them socially. You do things with them. You're in touch with them. You check in on them. That's a friend, whether it's Joe the plumber or it's somebody in a band. It just comes with doing this for a very, very long time. And I've totally am aware and have always been aware of people that would be still there for me and be a sounding board or be a friend if I was not doing this. And I'm totally aware of people that are kind of your quote unquote friends because of what you do or can do for them. I was able to sniff that out decades ago. And it's all good. It's business. It's all good. Whatever way it lands. I don't have any issue one way or the other. I certainly don't need to be friends with everybody at all, and I'm not. So there's very different categories. There's people that you don't know at all. There's people that you know, but it's more of a working thing, and you do what you do, they do what they do, and then there's people you become friends with. And that's kind of like in any walk of life, no matter what you do, whether you work in an office, in a store, in a shop, in a mall, happen to be on the radio, whether these people are famous or not famous, doesn't really matter. Just so happens that in this realm of what I do and have done all my life, most of the people that I talk to and I'm around happen to be in bands, some quite famous. But as far as people that I wouldn't put it in Mike's terms of not friends with, but as far as people that I just don't know or have never dealt with that I'd like to and have on the show, certainly somebody like David Lee Roth, somebody like Jimmy Page, somebody just called in about Buckethead. I don't know the man at all. So, yeah. Plenty of people still on the list to hopefully get to one of these days. Let's grab Robert, who's joining us in Massachusetts today. What's going on, Robert?
Hi, Eddie. Happy 4th of July to you and your family, and thank you for everything you do. I listen to you every day.
Thank you, buddy.
Hey,
appreciate that.
Thank you. You were mentioning that band Muse that has the like a spaceship on stage. Back in 1978, the Electric Light Orchestra went out on tour for Out of the Blue. That's got Turn to Stone, Mr. Blue Sky. Well, they actually had a giant flying saucer for the stage, and it would take 3 days to set up. The reason why I know that is because if I'm correct, they were playing Providence the same night Black Sabbath was playing with Van Halen in New Haven, and I went to that concert instead of the Providence show, which I regret because I never got to see them. So I'm just mentioning that.
Yeah, that's a great call. I remember we were talking about the spaceship yesterday because the band that's attempting to build one for their European tour is Muse, another band I do not know at all, by the way, in terms of personally. But Muse is trying to build this kind of next level spaceship deal that they want to actually operate on the stage in the stadiums when they play them later this year. My mind, as if you listened yesterday, immediately went to that Parliament album cover. And I told that story, well, but that's a great call because ELO was actually had that on their album cover. I think on the live album.
Yeah, well, what they did was I never got to the concert, but I went to that Sabbath Van Halen show at the old Coliseum in New Haven. But I got a video of it, and what it does is it raises up, and then they play. And I guess it took them like 3 days to set up and to break down between every show. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is obviously now, and thank you, Robert. You have a good fourth as well. Clearly now what they can do with technology is light years beyond so the whole things they were doing back in the 70s, whether it was Parliament or ELO, no doubt. So it'd be really interesting to see what Muse comes up with. I mean, they were saying it's going to be extremely expensive what they want to do, but with the technology today, could be pretty wild. So we'll keep an eye on that. Here's Carlos in Jacksonville, Florida, joining us. Hi, Carlos.
Hey, how you doing, Eddie? You might remember I called yesterday with about 25 seconds left, but I'd found this real cool list of the Guitar Plugged top 25 guitar riffs of all time. And what seems to be unique about it to me is every list that I've ever read or seen, or, you know, the ones you've had on there, at least had some, they could be a decent list and they would have some like clunkers that definitely don't belong there. And this is one out of all 25, I can say they all belong there. Everybody there'll be a lot of people argue with the order, but I think everything, you know, kind of belongs here. You want me to, I was going to read out at least like the top 13 of them and see what you thought of. No need to read the names of the groups because everybody will know it.
Yeah, I remember I remember I had to cut you off at the end of yesterday's show because we were ending. So yeah, give me the top 10 from 10 up.
Okay, from 10 up, Barracuda. 9, Crazy Train. 8, Paranoid. 7, Purple Haze. 6, Master of Puppets. 5, Money. 4, Sweet Home Alabama. 3, Inner Sandman. 2, Smoke on the Water. And number 1, my personal favorite, Whole Lot of Love.
So they have 2 Metallicas in the top 20, in the top 10, huh?
Yep, they do. Like I said, people will argue over some of the order or what a list, but even if you go down through 25, there's, you know, like number 25 is LaGrange, and then Sunshine of Your Love, Ain't Talking About Love, Rebel Yell, Layla. You know, they're all good, not meaning they're the hard, you know, and some people get confused. They're not the hardest to play, you know, like Money or something like that, or Smoke on the Water being one of the easier ones. But, you know, they consider them the top. More people play that Smoke on the Water. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's so the Guitar Center 101. Yeah. Is there any Van Halen on there?
Yep. Yeah, there's Ain't Talking About Love. It's at 23. And let's see, Panama at 15. And that's it. Mississippi Queen, Mountain, is at number 12.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you, Carlos. I like Heart, but that's a high spot for Heart for Barracuda to be in 10 and number 10, great song, great riff, but that's really some very it's some very high ranking. You don't usually see Heart or any Heart songs on a list like that. That's pretty generous right there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, you can argue with the order, but pretty much as you've seen, there's really no clunker, like something like Taylor Dane or Madonna or some kind of, a lot of these lists just have something completely stupid in them. And, and this one's, AC/DC's at 16 with Back in Black. Dire Straits is at 14. So, yeah, I agree with you about but
what Dire Straits song?
It's Money for Nothing.
Yeah. All right, Carlos. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you giving us a little more on that. Thanks very much. Look, the deal with all of these lists, and I've said it so many times, there's no right or wrong to any of it. It's just simply anyone can make a list because it inspires debate, discussion, clicks. If the list is very whacked out, doesn't make any sense. I mean, that certainly what Carlos read sounds within reason as far as making a list like that, but sometimes you see these wacky things that make no sense on any list about anything because it gets people outraged and people start talking about it and passing it around, and that's the end result. Attention, clicks, algorithms. Look at my website, look at my social media. That's all it's really about. Because there is no right or wrong. It's all subjective. And look, same thing when we do it. I don't deny that at all. We do all kinds of throwdowns and lists. There's no right or wrong, but it gives me a 2-hour radio show, and it's fun. So that's all any of these are. And lastly on this, again, any of these lists are completely subjective to what you know. It's all popularity. It's what you know. That's why it makes me nuts with the 20 greatest guitar players of all time. Well, you're never going to see on a list like that, a Buckethead, a Paul Gilbert, a Richie Kotzen, a billion other players, not even Nuno. Nuno who's like the preeminent guitar player of the last 3 years. He might start popping up on some of those lists now, but you never saw his name on those lists. You never see Yngwie Malmsteen on there. You never see George Lynch on there. You're going to always see the usual suspects who are massively popular and well-known and had big hit songs. That's all it is. You're always going to see Clapton, Hendrix, Van Halen. And I'm not saying any of that shouldn't be there. Jimmy Page. I'm not saying they're not deserving. I'm just saying you get what I'm saying, I hope. It's just like, everybody, if you aren't aware of Tony McAlpine, if you aren't aware of John Petrucci, they're not going to be on those lists because you just don't know who they are. But to some people, they play circles around people that are perennially on any list ever that might be the top guitar players. So that's my point. It's all just subjective. It's all just opinion. And most of it is all to get clicks and attention for whatever platform that it's on. Some of the lengths that people will go to get attention is unbelievable. For those that did not see it today, 2 people climbed the Empire State Building today. Joel, did you see this? You're in New York City. Did you see this?
Yeah, and I think as of like an hour ago, they were still trying to get them down. I don't know if you saw the latest video that showed one of them looked like proposing to the other one up there. Yeah.
They, the last news report I saw was that they were arrested, as they should have been.
Not surprising. Yeah, not surprising.
As they should have been. But I'm in Vegas, so I usually get up somewhere around 9, 10 o'clock in the morning on a work day, which Eastern time can be as late as 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So first thing I usually do is click on the TV and see what's going on. And there's these two lunatics. When I say the top of the Empire State Building, I'm not talking about the observation deck. I'm talking about the top, like at the top of the antenna on a platform. How they breached security to get there is beyond me, but it better be analyzed in a big way because, man, when you think about it being 4th of July and you think about all the crazy shit that goes on in this world, you really don't need a couple people up at the top of the Empire State Building on an extremely busy tourist time in New York as well, doing God knows what. It turned out, apparently, all they were doing was the guy proposed to the woman. It was a man and a woman, and they looked like they were in Batman outfits. The newscaster, when I had it on this morning, was going, "It appears that the woman is wearing cat ears." And I was like, they're clearly doing a Batman and Batgirl skit. Because the guy was in like some black leather outfit. Joel, isn't it 100 degrees there today too?
Yeah, it's that was my first thought. I was like, of all days to do it, like yesterday was your shot, not today.
So they're up there, and yeah, they climbed, like, you guys can see this. I'm sure it's all over the internet, and it was all over national news live as it was happening a few hours ago. But, and I can't stress enough, the top, like the last piece of the little antenna at the very top of the Empire State Building, that's what they were on. And to my point about attention, first thing the guy did when he got up there is he set up a selfie stick with like a GoPro at the end of it or a phone, and it was like live streaming the whole thing. On what platform, I don't know. But the newscaster was like, well, people will do anything for attention these days. Yeah, clearly, that's a pretty extreme thing for clicks right there. As a guy that doesn't like heights, I have no idea how you even do that. But the thing, thankfully, it wasn't a terrorism thing or anything like that. But the thing I feel for is the people, the emergency medical people or the police officers and the FBI and the security people who have got their hands full as it is. And then now they got to deal with some lunatics that just wanted clicks and attention and make a marriage proposal at the top of the Empire State Building. Very nice. I hope she said yes. But you're going to be having your wedding in jail, it would appear. Then again, considering some of the things that go on in New York City, they might be on a float going down Hudson Avenue being celebrated tomorrow on a free bus. Sorry, couldn't resist. Oh, my God. Let me do a break. We'll come back. We'll keep working through a Free-for-All Wednesday, final live show of the week. Best ofs, favorite international band tomorrow, favorite American band on Friday, and then, of course, back live after today on Monday with you guys. Been a fun, I'll tell you though, like I said yesterday, it's a fun week. I love doing all this open phone stuff because you just don't know what you're going to get into, and that's the best. And remember, Tuesday, Billy Sheehan to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Eat 'Em and Smile. I tried to get Vi. He's on tour. Tried to get Greg Bissonette. He wasn't available. But we'll have Billy, and we'll go down memory lane on that 40th of the classic debut full-length album from David Lee Roth as a solo artist. Be right back after this.
Now, back to Trunk Nation, your go-to destination for all things rock.
For the fans, I love the show. They just don't get any better.
I appreciate you saying that.
Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk.
Great God in heaven, you know I love Eddie Trunk.
Sirius XM.
Yeah.
Faction Talk.
All right, we are back, and let's get into it. Our final segment here of the week. Final round of phone calls from you guys. Here is Stanley in Florida. Would this be the Sinkin variety of Stanley?
Sinkin Stanley here, Eddie. Listen. How you doing, man? It's been a while.
It's been a while, man. I don't know what happened to you. Where you been, man?
Oh, man, dude, I've been going to tons of shows, just recovering from my medical event. Yeah. But,
you had a medical event.
But yeah,
I hope
man,
you're okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. I had a saddle pulmonary embolism back in September. So
what is that?
I'm still recovering from that. That's a blood clot that goes from your leg into your lungs. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's serious
man.
stuff, Tim. That's serious.
Oh, yeah. It was serious. I'm still recovering from it, but I'm good.
All right, man. Well, I'm glad you're okay. That's nothing to mess around with. I'm glad you're okay.
Well, thank you.
I'm sure Paul
Appreciate
Stanley's
that.
not glad you're okay, but I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, but speaking about KISS, man, real quick before I want to talk to you about nuclear assault real quick, but KISS, man, being July and everything, you were just talking about the Spirit of 76 poster the other day. Yeah. And yeah, man, I had that on my bedroom door when I was 5 years old in 76. And the cool thing about it is, if you remember the bicentennial quarters, do you remember those?
Yes.
How they had the drummer on there, just
Yes.
like Peter Criss on the poster.
Yes,
So that was
I'm sure
pretty
that's
cool.
what it was modeled after. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, we had Anthony Bramante, the guitar player from Nuclear Assault, on our YouTube show, the Sink and Wang show, and he wanted to reach out. He wanted to reach out to the former members because he lost contact with John and Dan. And what he wants to do is reach out to them and get a hold of them and, request a reunion show of Nuclear Assault, the original lineup, and maybe do a show at like the Starland Ballroom there in Sayreville, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's just trying to get a hold of those guys. So if you or anybody else knows anybody that can get into contact with John and Dan for him, that would be awesome.
I'm assuming he has no contact with him anymore?
No, he lost contact with him years ago. The only one he's in contact with is Glenn Evans, the drummer. But yeah, and he wants to reach out and see if he.
Yeah, I would think that if anybody, like within that network of guys that were actually in the band, if those guys were interested in doing it, they would have some dialogue, unless there's some beef there that I don't know about. But I don't really know those guys at all. So unfortunately, I wouldn't be the guy to be able to do that. I mean, I know who they are, and I used to see them playing on the New Jersey, New York scene, but they never, there was a lot of promise for that band back in the day to be a big band, but unfortunately it never got there. And then there was another version of the band that came together. There was a bunch of different people in and out of that at one point. But I unfortunately don't know them. Dan Lilker, of course, played in Anthrax, and actually when Frank Bello was out of the band, came back and played a couple gigs with them again.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. Yep.
Yeah, but
Very
I don't know.
cool
I don't
stuff,
have any
but-
contact with them.
But yeah, it'd be really cool to see, the original lineup of Nuclear Assault. I don't know about you, but I was a huge fan of that lineup, so it'd be awesome to see that again.
Yeah. All right. Well, check it out, Tim. Thanks, man. I'm glad you're okay. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Have a great holiday.
You too. There's Tim, a.k.a. Sinkin Stanley. All right, Joel, what is this you're telling me? You're telling me about the person who climbed the Empire State Building? I'm looking in the comments here.
Oh, yeah. Cody and I are just having a little discussion about it. So it turns out this woman, or I guess her name is Angela Nicolau. I'm probably saying her name wrong. She was featured in a Netflix documentary called Skywalkers, a love story, where her and her boyfriend or partner, I guess, did acrobatics on
I saw that.
high rides. Yeah, so It's her and her now, I guess, fiance, who are the two who are up there on the Empire State Building.
Oh, yes, I saw that. They climb they go around the world and climb these crazy, crazy high buildings. And then they get up there and do whatever they do with their video and whatever. Oh, so it was those people. Okay. And were they indeed in a Batman, Catwoman sort of outfit, I would think?
It looks like it. I didn't get a clear shot of them like that, but they're definitely wearing all black tank tops, masks, and it looks like there's ears or something on top. So it's definitely some performative stunt.
If you seen that doc, and I have, so I know exactly what you're talking about now, they also, so they do not want to get caught. Like when they stage these things, they have these ways where they scope it out in advance where they'll go back through like stairwells or whatever to get out. They'll change clothes so it doesn't look like them, so they get out without notice. Were they arrested? I don't know if they succeeded this time around.
Yes, they were arrested, and they did give their names to authorities, according to the article.
Yeah, so their exit plan on this one did not work. But I totally know what that is. I watched that documentary because I watch all that stuff with these. I told you guys there, if you're looking for something to watch this holiday weekend, it's just like edge of your seat crazy, and you're like me where you don't like heights and you can't believe that people do this kind of stuff. There's a documentary on HBO called The Dark Wizard. It's 4 or 5 parts, and it's about a solo free climber. A guy climbs mountains and walks tight ropes with no safety at all. It is nuts. These people that do this stuff just trip me out. But yeah, I totally remember that documentary with that couple doing it. They went to all these different countries and climbed these crazy high buildings and did stuff like that. Just got to the top and took photos, and man, amazing. I feel for the people, like when I was watching it, there was a police officer that had to go up there, and I'm like, I'm assuming that's like a specialized guy that knows how to deal with those heights, and he did have a safety harness on, but I'm like, oh man, can you imagine? Here it is, a Wednesday afternoon, it's 100 degrees out, and you got to go to the top of the Empire State Building and chase a couple lunatics who wanted to get a selfie moment for their engagement. But the good thing about this is nothing bad was going on in terms of, God forbid, terrorism or anything like that. And, nobody was hurt, thankfully, but easily could have been. Here's James in Burbank. What's up, James?
Hey, Eddie. Couple things. One, I sent you last Christmas, I sent you a live shot of the raspberries from the late 70s to your P.O. box. Did you ever get it?
I have it, and it's on my wall. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I do indeed have it.
Oh, sweet. Very nice. All right, cool. And then yesterday, I was going on yesterday's show when you said like the worst intro songs, like when a band hits the stage and to start. Remember years ago, AC/DC, they came back first time in 10 years, and they started this concert with Rock or Bust instead of something from Back in Black or something. I just thought that was a pretty letdown for a main song.
Yeah, however, I did see AC/DC open with the song Rock and Roll Train on that tour, and I thought that was really cool because they had that big production with the train and all that on there.
That's true. That's true. Okay. But what I was calling for was, what are the expectations? I mean, I'm not talking the Rolling Stones or Metallica because I know they have money and their fans will buy the records, but even like Anthrax, what are their expectations realistically on selling a record, and then down to like a Joe Holmes or Brian Tishy that making great music and they're putting out an actual physical product too, which I know costs money. But what are the realistic expectations for bands from like I said, Joe Holmes up to like an Anthrax level, in Testament kind of thing?
In terms of sales, what did they
sales,
think?
And what do they really think? Yeah, because I know it costs. They still go into a studio and they have to pay an engineer and all that fun stuff, and then pay for a physical CD and albums that everyone's doing now. So what do they realistically think they're going to get from that? Do they secretly dream it's going to sell 1 million copies, or do they think, hey, if it at least sells 30,000, we broke even, or what's the expectation for people like that?
Well, it's all depends upon the act. So you mentioned Joe Holmes, and by the way, Joe's record is great. It's out. Well, I'm going to get Joe on. I'll do it after the weekend. I've already been in touch with him, but people should know about that record. I've been listening to it. I mean, he's just such an unbelievably underrated guitar player, and it's so good that he's playing again, and the stuff he's doing is really, really good. I've been playing it on the show on Monday a little bit. But yeah, James, I'll try to address that and give you a better overview. So, I think most artists at this point, having seen what's happened in the music industry and seen the erosion of sales, I think most of them have a pretty realistic expectation on what, if they make new music, what it's going to sell and who it's going to sell to. There are some that are totally delusional. There are some that totally believe they're going to save rock and that their album is going to be double platinum and they're going to be the ones that are going to bring it back and it's going to be a whole renaissance. And hey, nobody would love to see that happen more than me for those artists. But the reality is you have a better shot of hitting the lottery. So I think most artists operate in the real world and have some idea on what a record's going to sell. And probably comparable to whatever their previous record may have been. So if it's 30,000 copies, if it's 10,000 copies, if it's 5,000, if it's 100,000, everybody kind of knows where they sit. As far as the cost, first of all, making the physical product, whether it's the CD or the vinyl, yes, that costs money, but that's one of the areas where they actually make money. So making CDs is very inexpensive. Those can be knocked out and put them in a slipcase and do a little artwork and you're good. That's not expensive. Making vinyl is expensive. It's bulky, it's heavy, it costs more to produce. You have to be more careful with it. If you're sending it out, it's more easily broken. It costs way more to ship. So that is expensive, but most artists are making the lion's share of their money with physical product. Even though only a small percentage of people want it, because of the markup, that is where the money is. The money is definitely not on Spotify or the streaming outlets, as it's been well documented. There is some money there, but, it all depends. There's money on YouTube. I mean, that's why every artist puts out pretty much every song or even makes like a lyric video to put it on YouTube. It's really about the way I see most new music, especially for older artists. It's really about putting it out there in the marketplace, every available way, platform imaginable. The streaming outlets, YouTube, social media, and then physical, selling it at shows, selling it through mail order, or if they have a record label, the record label selling it and getting it into some stores. And, I really think the reason for doing it for some of them is it gives them a catalyst to do press, to create some awareness, to let people know that they're still there, and in most cases to be the support mechanism for a tour. It's all about touring. It has been for over 20 years. And for those that still decide and still want to make new music, I think a lot of it is to support, hey, we still exist. Hey, we got something fresh coming out. Check it out. But look, how many people don't make new music? Again, Guns N' Roses has been touring for 10 years now, and they have not written a new song or made a new record. Yes, I know they put out redos of outtakes from Chinese. I'm not talking about that. And they're not the only ones. Tons of bands fall in that category too. But for the artists that do it, it's really more two things. They want to do it because they want to write and they still like that process of their career. And, it's just something to be something to do press for and to get the word out, let people know you're still active and that you're going to go tour. But I think most live in the real world in terms of the viability of what's going to happen with it. And unfortunately, what happens with it in almost every case is, as we've talked about so often, sells very well in the first week. You get that big first week chart number. All the hardcore fans buy it in the first week. All your pre-orders count towards the first week. You put out 5 songs already before the album even comes out, counts towards the first week, and then by week 2 or 3, gone. It's just how it's been for a long, long time. Let's go to Lance, who's in California, joining us today. Hi, Lance.
Hey, Eddie, how's it going, man?
Good, Lance.
Good. Hey, I called you last week about a throwdown of Slippery When Wet versus Appetite for Destruction, and kind of different styles of music. And after listening to your Boston Cars debut albums, I had a good idea. What do you think about Skid Row debut versus Appetite for Destruction? I heard it was either Keith Roth or Tommy London was saying that Skid Row album is their favorite debut album ever. And I listened to it. I would have told you, Appetite is one of my favorites ever as an album. But I put those two together on Saturday, and I like Skid Row's better.
Well, you might feel that way. You might feel that way too, because you're not near. If you're like me, you're not nearly as burnt out on Skid Row's. Look, both are great albums, no doubt, but there is a huge disparity there in terms of sales and airplay and status and standing of those records. Skid Row album, no doubt, is a great debut album. But Appetite for Destruction is one of the biggest albums of all time. So it's a tilted playing field.
True. One more if I could, and this is for next year. As well as Rock and Roll Over and Rocks did, you got to do a Draw the Line versus Love Gun in 2027.
I think Love Gun would probably win that pretty easily. Draw the Line is not considered a great record by most people, even though I do like it, but that's the wheels really coming off on Aerosmith. So I think that would probably go pretty heavy towards Love Gun, which was some feel was the last great Kiss record. But yeah, I don't know. Interesting stuff there, Lance. But going back, thank you, Lance. But going back to the Skids Guns thing, I mean, Appetite is played into the ground. You hear Welcome to the Jungle, Sweet Child constantly, still. Whereas the first Skid Row album, you don't hear I Remember You in 18 and Life or Youth Gone Wild nearly to that degree. I mean, there are still, there's still a lot of radio stations that don't play that record. Appetite is classic rock 101. It is ultra mainstream. It is sales-wise, I don't even think it's close. Joel can pull up the numbers and maybe let me know, Joel, what those two records have sold. I mean, I think the first Skid Row album is probably about 4 or 5 million. I mean, I know it was a huge record. Don't get me wrong. And it's become bigger over the years. But again, Appetite is looked at as a game changer. It's a landmark album. It's one of the biggest records ever. And I think you might say Skids because you're not as burnt out on it as you may be from being pounded with songs from Appetite forever. If I had to make a pick right now, I'd say Skid Row for a lot of reasons. And of course, I recognize Appetite's an amazing record, but all right, Skid Row, yeah, here it is. Debut Skid Row album, 5 million copies, last certified, 5 times platinum. Appetite, currently over 18 million. So Appetite for Destruction has sold nearly 4 times the amount of the debut Skid Row album. It's not, like I said, it's not even close. Now, I know when we do throwdowns, it's not necessarily about sales, but you know, when you've got something that's made that much of a bigger impact, I think it tilts the scale pretty significantly. You know, I think if you're going to do first Skid Row album, maybe you're better off doing that versus, I don't know, the Night Songs by Cinderella or Warrant Cherry Pie or I don't know. There's some other stuff, probably maybe a Motley album. You know, maybe, I don't know, maybe Feel Good, but Feel Good would be, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Joe in Pennsylvania. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Ed, what's up?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Hey, not too much. Hey, I just wanted to call, sort of have an idea possibly for maybe a really good interview for you. It's just come to my attention. I didn't realize this, that Cream magazine is back in print. Did you know that?
Actually, physically in print? No.
Yes, it is. It's back physically in print. And I just, probably about a month and a half ago, I was listening to a late night radio show. They interviewed Jan Urhelski.
Yeah, I had her on this show. I had her on a few years ago. I forget why, but she was part of a book on something, and I had her. Oh, you know, she was on because there was a documentary on Cream magazine, and she was on to promote that probably like 5 years ago.
Okay, I must have missed that. Yeah, I got to check that out. But yeah, it was just man, she had some serious. I mean, she went on tour with Zeppelin 2 times. You know, as an embedded reporter. I mean, stories of her working with Lester Bangs, which, you know, interesting, of course.
And she did the big Kiss thing. She did the thing with Kiss where she went on the road with them. I remember when that piece came out, we talked to her about it.
Exactly. I mean, now, this is something, I guess you probably know this. And if not, I should have saved this for a Stump the Trunk. But she went on stage with Kiss in the early days. Do you remember her talking about that?
Yeah. They put her in the makeup yeah.
And then one other thing that I'll leave you with, which I thought was awesome. Now, of course, I'm paraphrasing here, but she considers Ace Frehley to be the musical genius behind Kiss. She said that. So I'm like, pretty cool.
Yeah, well, she wouldn't be the only one. For the longest time, people have said, and yeah, Joe, I don't know if you can still find the interview on the app, but she was on Cream.
Okay, cool.
Cream relaunched. Joel said Cream as a magazine relaunched in 2022 in limited runs. But there was if you've not seen it, Joe, there's a documentary on the magazine, and that's what she came on this show for, I remember.
I will definitely check that out. Okay, hey, you have a good 4th of July, man. Take care.
You too, Joe. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that claim about Ace is not unique. There were a lot of people, definitely when Kiss was first coming up in the mid-'70s, that pointed to Ace as the you know, one really what they viewed as the great musician of the band, or the best musician of the band. You know, I think personally what made Kiss so special at that time was certainly not musicianship, although I do feel some of them were very underrated musicians, but the fact that all 4 brought something to the table. You know, to me, the real magic of Kiss, yes, it was the show, the makeup, the songs, the performance, all of it you love. I loved. Most people loved. Not all, but most. But I think the magic of Kiss was all 4 guys all brought something very important and special and unique to the table. And they were all very different personalities. And you really hadn't seen anything like that at that time before, like, say, the Beatles. And what I mean by that is that all four members had equal amounts of fans. You're an Ace person, you're a Peter person, Gene person, Paul person. All four members of the band sang lead vocals. All four had their personas. All four had certain things they did during the concerts. All four very different personalities. That was what made Kiss really unique as well. And I think really gets overlooked because as of 1980, 81, when things started to change and the lineup changed, the whole power shift changed for now over 45 years to being the Gene and Paul band. And make no mistake, Gene and Paul started the band, steered the ship through all the rocky waters, no doubt. And they acquired ownership of it and completely control the whole band and the narrative. And really have for 45 years. But what's important to note is that's not how it was in the 70s. And if you were a fan back then and old enough to have been a fan back then, you know that. The anonymity and the fact that everybody brought something to the table, and it was truly a four-wheel machine. So a lot of people think Peter was an incredibly underrated drummer. He brought something incredibly unique. He didn't come from a hard rock background. He was into jazz and swing, playing that in a hard rock band, that style. A lot of people think and thought Peter Criss was the best singer in the band, even though he was not up front as one of the lead singers on some songs he was the lead singer on, of course, but he was not the primary lead singer. A lot of people think Gene is an incredibly underrated bass player. You know, Paul, underrated guitarist overall, underrated rhythm guitar player. I think Paul in his day was one of the best singers we ever had. So I think a lot of people, though, because when Kiss was kind of figuring it out, Ace was the one guy that really stood out because he was very unique in his style, and he seemed to be the more accomplished player because the guitar solos were so memorable. Bob Ezrin, one of the most legendary producers in music history, has been on record saying that Ace was the rock and roll of Kiss. Say hi to Steven in North Carolina. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Eddie. How's it going?
Good, buddy. What's going on today?
Good. Hey, I apologize if you've already talked about this. We've had family in town for the holiday and stuff. Speaking of Kiss, did you know that they're releasing the live album from '76 in Anaheim?
Talked about it yesterday at length. You can go hear it on the app if you want to check it out.
I plan to. I haven't had a chance to go to the app, but I wanted to tell you also thank you. You were famous in my doctor's office last week. I went in for a colonoscopy, and the nurses asked me before the procedure what brought me in, and I said, well, Eddie Trunk told me to get one of these. I should get one. And so they were all like in their they were in their 20s. They didn't know who you were.
I'm sure they probably said, who?
Yeah, they did. They said, who? And I said, well, I love 80s music, and he's got this 80s show, and he talks about all this stuff. And I said, but he encourages people our age to get, colonoscopies. And so I thought I'd come in and get one. And the doctor told me, he said, well, you know what? If we find anything, he may have saved your life. And I was like, well, that's why I listened to him. So, but it was all good. But good. You were famous in the doctor's office last week.
Oh, very good. I'm glad. Well, I'm glad it all came back clear, and I'm glad you did that. And tell those people next time you go get one to listen to Trunk Nation and get on board with us. There you go. Educate them to join us to listen. I'm sure a 20-year-old working as an anesthesiologist assistant would just love to hear us bang on about the stuff we talk about.
Yeah.
She's looking for the Bruno Mars talk show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, Stephen. Well, yeah, we talked about it yesterday, which touched off a whole conversation about bootlegs, actually, as well, which that started out as. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. One song is out from it already, the remix of Shout It Out Loud.
Okay, yeah, I saw a clip of Gene and Paul talking about it, and they were like, check it out. I went to YouTube Music, and they showed, like, a preview of it, but I haven't had a chance to go in my app and listen to your show from yesterday, but I plan to. And real quick, man, a couple of weeks ago, I saw my wife took me for my birthday. We went to see Weird Al, and man, he had a good crowd at the Greensboro Coliseum, and it was incredible. I was telling people next to me, I was like, people forget this guy won a Grammy. I mean, it was incredible. Great musicians, great show, all the parodies. We had a great time, and he's a really good artist.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I would absolutely interview him if you wanted to come on. Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate it. Glad your health is good, too. Most important. Nothing more important than that. Thank you, man. I told my colonoscopy story once about when I went and got one, because I get them every 3 years with family history that my dad had colon cancer and all that. Told the story before, but for those, the real quick version of it is when I went and got one, I've gotten many, but one of the times when I got one, when my TV show was on the air, I went in and they were prepping me and they were about to hit me with the juice to knock me out. And the doctor, true story, walks in and he looks at the chart and he goes, Edward Trunk, okay, okay, all right. Hey, listen, before we start, I got to ask you something. I said, what's up? He said, my assistant works in the office. He wanted me to ask you to do a Stump the Trunk. I swear to God on my kids. I'm laying there in a little, the little gown pre-surgical thing, and I'm about to get knocked out, and I'm about to get a colonoscopy, and this guy's like, can you give me the lineup on the first Iron Maiden album, please? I swear to you, he had a white envelope in his jacket, pulled it out, and he read the question to me. And by the way, he had no idea who I was, but this was coming from somebody in his office who saw when I made the appointment, wrote a note and asked him to ask me that question, which he decided to do minutes before putting me under with propofol and giving me a colonoscopy. I will never forget that moment. Phil in Cincinnati. Go ahead, Phil.
Hey, thanks for taking my phone call.
You got it, man. I only got about a minute, so go ahead.
Okay. I heard something on your show about a year or so ago about Chris Robinson and one of the DeLeo brothers making an album 10 or 15 years ago that never came out, and you were going to ask one of them the next time you saw him if it was true. Did you ever hear if it was true?
Chris Robinson and Robert and Dean, no. Now Robert and Dean had a band called Army of Anyone with Richard Patrick from Filter as the singer, and that did come out. Ray Luzier was the drummer, but I did not know they did a record with Chris Robinson.
Yeah, and I thought I heard it on your show, and you said you were going to ask them the next time you were around, either one of them. And so I was just wondering if you ever heard.
Yeah, no, I did not know about that, but I promise you I will ask them because I do know all of them and know them well enough to text and ask. Matter of fact, STP is playing here in Vegas on the 25th, like almost walking distance from my house. So I might try to get over to that and see those guys. Thank you, Phil. But I've not heard about those guys doing a project with Chris at some point, but that would be pretty cool if they did. I mean, there are a lot of times people start bands, start ideas, even record some demos, even record a record, and they don't feel right about it. They decide to scrap it. Sometimes legal stuff gets in the way, like the different record labels they might be signed to. But I never heard about that one, but I'll try to see what I could find out for you. Hey, great abbreviated week here, folks. A lot of fun just hanging, talking to you. I really, really love doing that, as you know, as well as all the guests and the interviews. Have yourself a fantastic, safe 4th of July long weekend. Enjoy Best Ofs tomorrow and Friday. And we will return on Monday with more of your calls and recap the weekend starting at 3 Eastern right here on Faction Talk. Happy 4th of July, everybody.